Jaci Russo. I just clenched my fist. I love talking to Jaci. Branding. What do you know about branding? The first question I ask is, can a brand be created without intention? If you're a business, do you have a brand whether you realize it or not? And what do you need to do if you're advertising business to business, B2B, if you're trying to attract businesses, if that's your model, what should your brand be? She has this 4 steps, her razor branding. The first one is focus. The other 2, 3, and 4 you're going to learn about shortly. Is your focus too wide? Is it too narrow? Once you learn that, what's the next step? Where does branding fit in marketing, advertising, public relations? It's a fascinating discussion on branding and where it is. Even branding, she feels branding is at the top. Marketing is a portion of it because you're also branding not only to customers, to prospects, but also to your employees, also to vendors that want to work with you. So she looks at branding from her perspective at the very highest level. And what happens when you want a particular brand and it's not there? How do you move it? How do you work with a branding specialist? We talk about her discipline and what motivates her. She's been in the industry for a long time, and she's very, very confident, but she's very willing to talk about the process and how important it is. Great conversation with Jaci Russo about branding. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business? And it lasted over 25 years. Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission, how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Disciple Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. So excited to talk to you, Jaci Russo. Thank you so much for your time. Can a brand be created without intention, without them
Yes.
knowing it?
Yes, absolutely.
How?
If we use Marty Neumeier's definition, which is the one I go by, which says that the brand is the emotional connection between someone and a company, a product, a service, then that emotional connection, it's happening all the time. Everything you do intentionally or accidentally is going to build or break that brand.
That's fascinating. Because even let's take that. So I
Sure.
work with a lot of tech companies, smaller companies, right? Less than 20 employees, and they're very good at technology, but they're not good at marketing and sales. You know this story, and they're not good at branding, but they have created it whether they realize it or not.
Correct. Correct. So whether they realize it or not, whether they're trying to or not, there's a brand. Now, it's entirely possible that
Hmm.
they are unknown. They are the best kept secret in their business.
Mm.
And that's when the work starts. That's when they have to figure out how to go build the brand authentically and intentionally to make the impact that they want.
Emotional connection with your product and service.
Correct, because we are not logical creatures. We want to think we are. Humans are so smart and logical. False. Humans are emotional. They make decisions on emotional reasons. They use logic to justify it so they don't sound like they're girly and willy nilly. We are a herd species. We travel in packs, just like zebras and antelopes. And our human nature, our DNA wiring tells us stay in the herd, stay in the pack, Don't separate. It's dangerous. You're going to get picked off by the predator.
Mm.
But our business mindset tells us don't blend in. You have to stand out. If you're not different, you can't dominate. If you're not different, you can't be seen. When I
Mm.
walk into Best Buy and I see the wall of TVs, and they all kind of look alike, I'm just going to pick the cheapest one.
All right.
So if you blend in, you're going to be a commodity. If you stand out, you can go with value pricing. You can really drive market domination. You can be the big bomb.
And commoditization is really the enemy of a lot of these small businesses. They don't want to be
It's the enemy
they
of profitability.
it's the enemy of profitability. Interesting.
Yes, absolutely. 100% commoditization is the enemy of profitability. We
Mm.
did a lot of work with a dairy one time. So they made milk. And they came to us and said, we've been in this one market for a long generations, and we're the number one choice in the market. As we grow to these new markets and to these new cities, we're really finding it hard to break through. So we start doing our research, and lo and behold, people buy milk for mostly women. 90% of milk shoppers are women, and typically moms. And they buy milk because it's the one they grew up on. It's Borden's. And they've always been a Borden drinker, and Borden's is all they know, and Elsie the
Mm.
cow. And so they buy
Mm.
Borden's. Number two, it's price. They buy the store brand because it's cheapest
Mm.
commodity. Number three, it's health. We need to drink milk. We want to have strong teeth and bones and gums, and we don't want all those chemicals and things. So we're going to spend more to have organic. So we're willing to pay the extra penny for organic. Our client is not heritage in these new markets they're going into because they're new. They're not cheapest. They're not store brand. They're actually the most expensive one on the shelf, and they're not organic. And I was like, so you don't fit any of the categories that currently exist.
Mm.
How are we gonna, make people want to buy you? So we created a new category. And so we built an entire campaign around kids. And the thought was that middle school kids who really should be drinking some form of, nutritious beverage, were most likely to be able to still be young enough to be swayed by the advertising, old enough to ask for it by their parents. And so we'll use them. So the whole campaign was around these kids, and it was acknowledging great kids in the community for their artistic achievements, their athletic achievements, their academic achievements, their activism, whatever it might be. And so we passed out certificates at the schools, and the schools identified fourth, fifth, sixth graders who excelled in these areas. And then we featured those kids in our ads and recognized them for their awesomeness.
So is that how you work with a company? Let's say you worked with one of these tech companies that I'm talking about. I know you mentioned you work with tech companies.
Sure.
You have to do that kind of baseline work first.
You have to know the strategy. So we developed something called Razor Branding. It's got four core principles. The first is focus. Who are you talking to? And this is more prevalent in B2B than anywhere else. Every single B2B company that I have worked with in my almost 30-year career thinks their target audience is wider than it is.
Mm.
Always, always, because they're worried about leaving something out. They're worried about
Mm.
missing an opportunity. If I go too narrow, I'm going to miss this. I'm going to miss
Mm.
that. You're
Mm.
not. It's the exact opposite happens. The more narrow and targeted and focused you get, the more opportunities that arrive.
Hmm.
It's like a magnet. When you stand up and say, like Quentin Tarantino, I'm making this for me because
Mm.
this is the story I want to hear. And I actually got to work with him on a project I can tell you about in a minute. Um,
Wow.
and so the people who like it are attracted to it like moths to a flame.
Mm.
And the people who don't like it are like, yeah, that's not my jam. I'm going over here. No problem. But if he tried to make a movie that made everybody happy, how's that going to happen? Is it going
Right.
to be more cursing, more
Mm.
violence, less violence? There's no way you can make a Tarantino movie and also make Disney parents happy. That's
Hmm.
not going to happen.
Mm.
So
Mm.
you just water it down and it becomes nothing, happy to no one. So we want to make it different. That's focus. The next is why you. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of other companies that from the outside looking in appear to do the exact same thing you do. So why you? Why am I going to pick you? How have you separated yourself from the herd in a way that makes me gravitate towards you, believing that you have the right answer for me? The
Mm.
third is connection. What are you going to say to cut through the clutter to connect with me? Because if you're talking about yourself the whole time, bye.
Mm.
Oh, but wait, you're talking about me, to me, about things I care about. You hear me, you see me, you understand my challenges and my pain points and my frustrations. Yes, I will buy what you're selling because you get me. The fourth is harmony. Where and when do we put these messages so that right target audience can see them? 5 steps: focus, promise, connection, harmony. So, when we dig in and do the work, as you were talking about, that's what we're doing. We're doing the research. We're talking to the company. We're talking to the current customers. We're talking to future customers. They don't know the client yet, but they should. And we've got to go figure out what's going to get their attention. What are we going to say to them in a way we're going to say it that's going to make them stand up and notice?
Does branding fall under the marketing umbrella?
Yes, marketing falls under the branding umbrella.
Ah.
Branding is everything. Marketing is one piece of it. Branding is everything from your name and your brand identity, your logo, to your products and services, to your customer service, to your hiring, to your recruitment and retention, to your building, to your pricing. It's the 4 Ps, it's communications, it's PR, it's social media, it's marketing. All of that is branding. Branding is every touch point that is a chance to make or break the brand.
So a lot of the companies that I work with, Jackie, will not get that concept. I hope one day that they do. They're technology led, and they just believe that, well, the client will like our service because we're really good at it, and that's it. If they don't understand that, screw them. I'll go somewhere else. And we got to shake them of this.
Well, the question becomes, are you the only one that's good at it? Are you Tesla and you're the
Mm,
only one with the supercharger network? So I'm going to buy a Tesla because I know that I am always within 45 minutes of my next full charge as I
mm,
travel across the country. That
mm,
gives me comfort and security. So I'm all in. But then you become Tesla, who says, hey, we're going to open up the supercharger network to everyone. As a shareholder, I'm thrilled. Huge revenue source. Huge. As an owner of a car, I'm thinking, well, wait, now I'm going to have a longer line at the pump. Now I have to wait for the Chevy Volt and this Ford, whatever, and this BMW, that thing, for their turn to charge. And then it's my turn to charge. I don't want to share. I bought this car because it was exclusive, it was unique. This charging network was special. So if you're telling me you're the only one, okay, but I'm going to tell you you're not. I'm going to tell you that through the customer's lens, there's no way you're the only one that does all of the things you do and no one else does anything as good. That's not possible. It's too competitive a market out there. This is capitalism. Of course,
mm,
there's a competitor around the corner. And if there's no competitor today, there will be tomorrow. Ask Amazon.
mm. Your first step, focus. Can your focus end up choosing you before you choose it?
For sure. A lot of times I find that companies who don't approach this in a strategic brand plan kind of a way um, end up with the customers they get. They
Mm,
haven't been intentional, they haven't targeted people. And so they've said yes to whatever opportunities come in the door because they needed business and the business arrived. And so then all of a sudden they realize that they've gotten too wide. They're trying to cater to too many different artist segments. They're trying
mm.
to be too many things to too many people. And so that has enabled them to start to narrow and target and focus. And then all of a sudden it gets better. So just think about this. Let's say you're an IT company. And as an IT company, you find yourself doing work for some doctor's offices,
Hmm.
some law firms, some small businesses, professional services, a few manufacturing facilities, and a couple of municipalities. They pay the bills on time. It's good work, and you want to drive more traffic. You want to get some more ads, so you would get some more clients. So you're going to put out some ads. In doing that, are you going to say, "We know how to help you protect your clients, customers, patients, citizens"? How do
Mm.
you create a marketing message that's going to resonate? Do you say, hey, listen, whether you are at a law firm or a doctor or a dentist or a small business or a city government employee, we've got you covered. That doesn't feel like you're a specialist. That feels like you're a generalist. That feels like you're trying to be all things to all people. You're going to spend half of the ad telling me all the people you serve
Hmm.
before you actually tell me something that matters to me. We will spend top dollar for somebody that we know is an expert at their craft, is a specialist at what they do, and they are the best at what they do. Now, you walk around telling me you're the best, I'm just going to think you're egotistical. You walk around with other people telling me you're the best, I'm going to flock to you because you're the best. So it's all about how you segment, differentiate, and then connect.
Yeah, the term "boil the ocean" comes into,
Correct.
yeah, can't do that, obviously.
And so the companies that, like you say, the businesses just kind of come to them and the customers have kind of come to them, well, they're now inside and they can't read the label from inside the bottle. So they don't realize that from the outside looking in, either I don't know all the things they do because they do so many things. Therefore, upselling and cross selling is almost impossible.
Mm.
I don't know what they're a specialist in because they're trying to claim knowledge of everything. Now, you can do that when you're a big company. So let's say you start off as a small software company that does accounting for small businesses. That's it. You just do accounting for small businesses. I'm a small business. I need accounting. I want software. I want automation. Boom. And then all of a sudden, you have millions of small business customers. Well, now you can start to provide other things those small businesses need because you've got a built in audience. You've established your brand. Now you're just extending that brand in natural, logical ways. But if you start off trying to be QuickBooks, and so you're going to have this and this and this and this and this, you're going to have nothing.
Mm.
Do one thing and do it really well. Then you can add to it.
So my IT firm, when we started in the '90s, we were not focused. We got a bunch of clients, but then we got a couple of big architectural firms. We're near Yale, New Haven, and then next thing you know, we had so many. And the beauty of that, Jackie, is that architects work with plumbers. Architects work with manufacturing. That kind of offshoot happens. So we started to become specialists in that area, and then all their ancillary teams that they work with, you start working with them as well. So the focus now becomes quite wide, like you said.
But so think about not that you're going to, so the plumber shows up, you're not going to say no to the plumber. The plumber is a referral from the architect. The architect's a
Right.
good client. You're going to take good care of the plumber. What you're not going to do is go advertise, go out and market, go out and try to get architects and plumbers. You're going to stay focused on architects
Right.
because by focusing on architects, the plumbers came.
Right.
But if you try to go say, hey, listen, I am perfect for architects and concrete companies and general contractors and engineers, you can't be perfect for all
Mm.
of those. Pick one, the rest will follow. Be a specialist. So let's say that you're an IT company that really has found your niche with cybersecurity. But you've drilled it even further than that, and you're the people who can handle every ransomware thing. Like you're the ransomware people, right?
Mm.
Okay. So now you go fly that flag. We get ransomware. We don't negotiate with terrorists. We understand how to get your computers back. We've worked directly with the FBI. We understand the insurance behind it. We know all the pieces that go around the ransomware challenge. It's a $4 trillion issue in the world, and we can protect you. Well, what small business is going to say no to that? And once you get their ransomware business, can't you also get their email servers
Mm.
and their server maintenance and their equipment updates? Do one thing and do it well.
And that's really, yeah, so then your second is promise, your third is messaging. Once you get to one thing, that's what your message is now.
Correct.
Become the best at it. Become
Correct.
a thought leader in that vertical.
Correct. Now you've got all these companies and you want to cross sell or upsell other services. Great. But out to the world, you're ransomware experts.
Right.
Inside, I will envelop you and protect you completely in all the ways. But you just use the one thing to get them in the door. One thing.
Mm.
What's your one thing?
And, I keep on going back to tech because it's what I know, Jackie, but
Sure.
a lot of these engineers are brilliant engineers, but they don't every compliment with the word "but" doesn't count, I realize. But however, they don't necessarily respect these soft skills that are so important, and they can't grow without them.
Sure.
They can't grow without sales. They can't grow without branding and marketing. So your messaging is so important for them to hear. And your fourth is harmony. Now you got the messaging. Where you're going to put the messaging is.
Sure. So
Where
now
is
it's
that going to go?
tactical. And
No,
what
it's
ends up
tactical.
happening is everybody starts tactically. Hey,
Mm.
I hear that everybody's on TikTok. I want to be on TikTok. Nope.
Mm.
We don't start tactically. We don't chase shiny things. We
Mm.
start strategically. Who are we talking to? Why are they going to listen? What are we going to say? Then let's talk about tactics. So I'm working with a small regional business banking group. And it's B2B, it's business banking all the way. But smaller town business banks, right? They're not in major metro areas. They're in smaller, more rural areas. A lot of business, a lot of farming business, a lot of money. They don't want to keep sticking it in their mattress, burying it in the yard. They're going to give it to a bank, but
Mm.
a bank that understands business. And at the table, we're talking about the plan for the year. And one of the board members says, "We need to be on Snapchat." I'm sorry, 64-year-old man, what? Well, my grandson's on Snapchat and we need to be on Snapchat. How old's your grandson? He's 14.
Uh.
Okay. So, does your grandson own a company with at least $2.5 million in assets? No. Does your grandson have at least 10 employees? No. Does your grandson look to start a new line of credit in the new year? No. Then tell me which of the criteria for the perfect customer that we just all agreed to
Mm.
does your grandson meet? None. So, why am I going to do Snapchat for your bank? Because we've got this criteria of the perfect customer. And if the perfect customer is on Snapchat or TikTok or LinkedIn or Facebook, that is then where you should be. But if the perfect customer is not in those places, why are we? That is why we start with focus. Who are we focused on? Not just their demographics, their psychographics. Not just their outside stuff, their inside stuff, how they think, how they feel, what they need, what they want, their fears. Then we move into the personality profiles. Are they deep readers? Do they like a lot of information before they can make a decision? Or are they quick decision makers? Because I'll tell you right now, I am more of that headline personality type. I'm a quick decision maker. If we were doing a
Mm.
disc profile, I'm a D for dominant. I think D stands for a couple of other things that people who are
Ha!
assertive can be called. So I'm a D. And so, but my company, the people I work with here, they're more what we call body copy. They read the
Mm.
words. They need a lot of information for analysis. They really want to contemplate and think through it. So if I go out and get a bunch of clients just like me, bunch of D's, well, let me tell you how miserable they're going to make my team.
Mm. Mm.
And like attracts like. So you need to know who you are.
Mm.
You need to know who you want to work with. You need to figure out how to attract those people. Personality profiles matter. So back to the bank. So if we're going to go do Snapchat because the board member's grandson is on it,
Right.
we
Right.
are going to end up wasting a lot of money. And I'm not going to be able to show an ROI for that. So
Mm.
we think through who we're going to be working with and where we're going to put those messages so that we can be seen enough times. It's not everywhere. We don't want to reach everybody. We want to reach just a few people, a small target segment audience, but reach them often enough. So you're planting seeds, you're watering, you're fertilizing, you're picking the weeds, you're putting enough sun, and then all of a sudden it starts to bloom. New client.
And there's a certain amount of patience that's required there, Jackie, which a lot of these small business owners just don't have. They're used to engineering feats where they work on something and then they see the results. When you tell them they have to wait a month, 2 months, a quarter, there's frustration that occurs.
Absolutely. And I sit in a seat of privilege to be able to say, not my perfect client. My
Mm.
perfect client is bought into the process. My perfect client is willing to invest. My perfect client is willing to wait. I know what my perfect client looks like.
Hmm.
And my perfect client's going to go from being the 14th to the 12th to the 10th to the 8th to the 5th in terms of market share
Mm.
because they're willing to invest. They believe. They're willing to wait. They're willing to do the work. They're willing to let us do our jobs. They trust us. The people who don't do those things are going to go from third to fifth to eighth to 10th to
Mm.
12th. And they're not going to know why. They're never going to understand how these other companies were able to leapfrog over them and steal what they felt was rightfully their market share.
Mm. So when you're first working with a small to medium business, do you have them do an assessment? What is there an interview process? How do you get a baseline with them?
That's a great question. So I actually work with companies in two different ways. The agency is is medium to large size B2B. And that's going to be industrial, professional services, manufacturing, but bigger companies that are willing to invest. Typically, they haven't invested in a marketing team. They've got 2 or 3 people in house, but they're willing to invest in growth as long as we can show an ROI. And so they're perfect. We start off with discovery call. We ask them a ton of questions. We make sure that the system is going to work for them. We explain how we work, what we do. It's going to be 3 months to create a plan, and then we're going to execute that plan. So we're the ones implementing that plan. We're bringing our graphic designers, copywriters, web, PR, social media people, and for one flat fee, no hourly rates, we're going to handle everything so the plan goes the way we want it to go. We
Mm.
used to just do the plan and hand it over, and then our clients screwed them up. So I was like, no,
Right.
I'm not giving you the plan. You're going to approve it, but I'm going to go do the work for it because I
Mm.
need to make
Mm.
sure it works. My name's on the line here. But small to medium sized businesses who don't have the budget to invest in an agency but still need help, we created something called Brand State U, like university. And that is online education and resources. So it's do it yourself, but not on your own. It's guided assistance to growth. And so it's the same strategic brand planning process, but it's 8 modules pre-recorded that walks you through it step by step so you're
Hmm.
doing it yourself versus the agency side where we're doing it for you. So you can kind of go either way. You can Google it, research it, figure it out, do it on your own. You can do it yourself, but not on your own, guided help, or you can turn it over and let somebody do it for you. It kind of depends on which way you want to go.
And how different does the model shift when you're going to business to consumer from B2B to B2C?
That is a great question. Honestly, truly, completely, the plan is the plan.
Hmm.
Every business, and we worked with retail, we've worked with food, we've worked with restaurant, we've worked with bank, we've worked with B2B, we've worked with tech, we've worked with e-discovery, we've worked with professional organizations. I mean, this agency is almost 25 years old. We've worked with a lot of people. The plan is still the plan. When you have focus, promise, connection, harmony, you do the research, you write down the answers. And look, there's some talent that goes into this. I am not a great copywriter, so I can be a part of a meeting where we're brainstorming and we're talking about campaigns and we're talking about ideas, but to really go out and write emotionally connecting messaging, that's not my skill set. That's like asking a fish to climb a tree.
Mm.
I'm not going to be successful. So we've got copywriters that do that. You've got to put the right people in the right seats on the bus. Good to great. Jim Collins, great book. But at the end of the day, when you follow the plan, you know who your target audience is. You're segmenting appropriately. You know why they should choose you. You're making the message about them. You're putting the message in front of them enough times so they see it when they're ready. It gets through their RAS, right? Their filter in their brain that weeds out everything that's not relevant. I read a great article on this, and I'm going to answer your question in just a second. Great article that said the only things that really penetrate through that articulator, that filter that we have, are when someone says your name,
Hmm.
even from across the room, you perk up. You're like, "What? Somebody say my name?"
Yeah.
When somebody says the word sex, which is
Hmm.
fascinating to me, my
Sure.
ears perk up. Sure, that's going to cut through. What's happening over there? What are they saying? If it activates your fight or flight reflex, there's danger.
Mm. Mm.
Danger will
Mm.
get through,
Mm.
or it is completely directly relevant to you in your station, in your place, in your life right now.
Hmm.
When I got married, we were blessed with a honeymoon surprise
Yes, I heard. Yeah.
and then had 4
Congratulations.
kids in
Yeah.
4 years. So I was basically pregnant for 5 years straight. On our 5th anniversary, we'd been married 60 months. I'd been pregnant for 40 months. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's a wonder we survived. Um, and so for those 5 years, I saw babies everywhere.
Mm,
I was a baby. I mean, I had a baby in my belly. Had a baby on my hip. I was pushing a
mm,
baby in a stroller,
mm,
and
mm.
everyone I saw were babies.
Right.
It's like the human race was in this massive explosion of babies.
Right, right.
We are a dying species, apparently, because I haven't seen a baby
Me either.
in 19 years. I haven't seen a car seat. I haven't seen an ad for a stroller. I don't know what
Diapers?
new but diapers. I don't even know diapers. Whose diapers? I know nothing about babies because it's not relevant to
Right.
me.
Yeah.
And so that's why when you're in the market for a truck, you see trucks
Mm,
everywhere
mm,
because your
mm,
articulator is open and they're coming right through.
mm,
So all of that to say, when your clients are saying, "Well, this doesn't work," well, it doesn't work because you're not putting enough messages in front of somebody enough times so that when their articulator is open, boom, there they are. That's why we think the phones are spying on us. Those ads have been there the whole time, but
mm,
you engaged in a conversation. When you engaged in a conversation, either you were speaking about it or you were listening to somebody speak about it. That opened up your filter, and those ads came right through. They've been sitting there waiting for you.
hmm.
But once the filter opened, you were then able to see them. And yeah, the phone's probably listening to you too, but the filter's movement really is what makes a big difference. So back to copywriting. I read something the other day that I think is just brilliant. Bad copywriting. Hey, we are this company. We sell this product. You should buy this product. That is
Mm,
bad copywriting.
terrible.
That's like the description of a Sears catalog. The
Mm,
shirt is made of cotton. It costs $14. It comes
mm,
in 3 sizes. Buy it. Good copywriting. Here's who you are. Here's the problem you are facing. Here's why what you've tried before has not worked. Here's what's going to happen if you don't solve this problem soon. Here's what could happen if you do solve this problem soon. By the way, here's something that could help. That's the J. Peterman catalog. That's
mm,
instead of saying the shirt is cotton, it is plaid, it comes in 3 sizes, it has 10 buttons. It says, this is a suit in which to commit murder.
mm.
When you walk in the room, people will stand around and notice. Your boss will feel like he should give you a raise because you look so good, but also think he must have already given you one because it looks so expensive.
Mm.
Which thing are you going to buy? So it is all about following those steps. And that's why those steps work for B2B or B2C, because at the end of the day, we're selling to people. B2B has become boring to boring
Mm.
because we have forgotten what we knew about B2C and reaching people and engaging them and remembering it's an emotional connection. When you do that and you build campaigns, they work because it's people selling to people.
So, Jackie, when you get, I'll randomly pick a B2C concept, podcasting, right? There's 3 million podcasts out there, right?
Sure.
And there's only a handful that generate revenue, that have large listenership. You're still in your 4 steps. The focus will be who's listening, what's their date range, what is their occupation, like what kind of characteristics is
All
that
those things.
persona?
So it starts with the outside stuff, the demographics, gender, age,
Mm,
income, education, geographic location,
hmm,
all the outside stuff. Straight up demographic profile. I'm a certified media buyer. That's one of my first jobs in marketing. And so you got to think like a media buyer. If I'm going to go place an ad, where am I going to go place the ad?
mm,
Then you move into the psychographic stuff. What are their pain points? What are their interests? What are their wants? What are their needs? What are their
hmm.
fears? All those psychographics. So it's the logical and the emotional. It's the commonality. And so if I was to do a podcast for men 18 to 35, what are we going to talk about?
Mm.
But if I'm doing a podcast for men 18 to 35 who have been dating for at least 2 years and are on the precipice of engagement, well, now what are we going to talk about? All of a sudden, don't you see that entire series of topics line up? We could talk about how to pop the question. We could talk about how to buy the ring, where to
Mm.
buy the ring, what kind of ring to get, how to make sure there's a photographer when you're popping the question, how to plan a wedding, how to get out of her way, how to be of assistance, how to be a good husband, how to be a good dad. Oh my gosh. And think about all the people you can sell those sponsorships to.
Hmm.
Now, if we're just talking to men 18 to 35, I mean, probably sometimes we'll talk about sports, sometimes we'll talk about work, sometimes we'll talk about families. Who are you selling ads to? But if we're talking to men 18 to 35 who've been dating for at least 2 years and are on the precipice of engagement, I know who the speakers should be. I know
Mm,
what the topics should be. I know who the advertisers should be.
mm,
I know how to go get more listeners. Targeted, specific, segmented. And there can be not just 3 million podcasts, there can be 30 million podcasts when you get that specific.
mm.
And doesn't that become timeless? Because aren't there new people every year who have now been dating for 2 years and are now thinking about engagement? So it's an evergreen container of new people who can go back and find episode 1 and work their way all the way through. Now, I'm not in that target audience, so I don't know if that podcast exists, but if not, it should.
Oh, it does. It has to. There's
I
3
mean,
million.
I would imagine it does, but
Yeah.
I'll never know because it's never going to be my area
Right.
of expertise. Those aren't my people.
How will AI influence branding?
I think AI is awesome. I think that the people who learn how to use AI the right way are going to leapfrog over the ones who don't. I
Mm.
think that when we use AI as a brainstorming tool, we use it as a first draft of content creation, we use it as a way to continue to personalize and automate what we're doing, you're going to be hitting home runs.
And you talked about just content writing. I mean, we see AI. I mean, I use it to create great first drafts,
Yep.
and then because often it's wrong, and then I find that me personally, I'm a much better editor than I am writer, so it's good for me in that aspect.
Right. 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 I think that when we think about, like I told you, I'm not a very good writer. And
Mm,
so I need a first draft to work off of. So when I put in my thoughts and I get this first draft, well, I'm an editing fool. I will go through and update, blah, 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 blah. And if you look at that first draft from AI and you look at what I'm done with at the end, mine's so much different and so much better. But I
mm,
just couldn't stare at a blank page and
yeah,
come up with great ideas. I need something to spark. I need a brainstorm partner.
yeah. I also like the point you made, Jackie, and I talk to this often with a lot of the tech companies I work with when they want to talk about what they do, they just blind you with features when it shouldn't be features. It's got to be value. Big difference between features and value.
I will challenge you that you're right. Features is never the answer. Value is good. Benefits is better.
Ah.
But the real creme de la creme is when you bring it all the way full circle. You get past myself, features. You get past value, which is really more about me and what a great value I am. You get past benefits, which is how it's going to benefit you. And you talk about their challenges,
Mm.
their frustrations, their issues, their problems. That is the right answer.
Hmm. And just tapping into that in a specific group.
Correct. That's why you have to be narrow, targeted, and focused. Because how could I possibly tell you that I understand you if I'm talking to 10 different people who are not alike? Got to have some commonality. So if I'm just talking to all men 18 to 35, bleh. But if I'm talking to men 18 to 35 who've been dating for 2 years who have a propensity to get engaged, well, now we got something to talk about.
Who won't you work with, Jackie?
Well, it's funny that you would ask that. We have a list of requirements for our clients. And I don't know that I can rattle it all off the top of my head, but it goes something like this. They must be happy, humble, and hungry.
Mm,
They must believe and trust in the process. They must be willing to invest in their growth.
mm,
They must be kind. I'm not going to get yelled at.
yeah,
Now, I'm going to drop an F bomb like a sailor, but not
sure.
at you, only to emphasize my story. Um, they must be good at what they do.
Mm,
They've got to be specialists in their own way. They have to do something unique. I'm not just going to go sell soap
mm,
in a shelf with other soap. Why is your soap better? How's it
mm,
different?
mm,
That's not a very good B2B example, but you know what I mean.
mm.
And they have to be willing to change the conversation. If we got hired by a company that very successful. They're sitting probably fourth or fifth market share in the country. They're awesome. And we walked in with a proposal that was going to shake things up. I mean, it's a 150-year-old, fifth generation, still family run company. And we had some ideas and they loved the ideas. They were so excited. So they hired us. We went through Razor branding. We brought the ideas to life based on research. They were awesome. We were ready to go. And the president of the company said, "Oh, I don't know. That doesn't feel like us. It feels too different." We're like, "Why don't we just try it? This one small segment test in this one area. If it works, great. We'll roll it out everywhere. And if it doesn't, we're wrong and we will adapt." And we understand that. Everything we do has to be measured, monitored, and modified if it's not getting it done. So he says, "Okay." So we do it. Gangbusters.
Wow.
I mean, unbelievable, the growth almost overnight. It took probably a month, but it was really. President sends an email to everyone in the company talking about how awesome it was. The single biggest piece of growth they've had in the history of their company,
Wow.
right? So now we're talking about rolling it out, and they're like, "Well, but we really just kind of want to go back to this thing we were doing before. We feel safer there." And I said, "No problem. Listen, you've hired us, you've paid us. Here's the work that we've done for you, and we wish you luck." And like, "What do you mean? No, we want you to do it." I'm like, "No, please understand. This is not I'm taking my toys and going home. This is saying that we don't think that's going to work. That
Mm.
has gotten you to here, but it's not getting you to here. You've plateaued with that, and it's comfortable. I get it. And if you want to stay plateaued with that, then you should hire somebody else to do it. You hired us to be a growth engine. You hired us to create change. You hired us to change the conversation. We did that. It worked, and now we want to keep doing that. And no hard feelings. Okay. Let's do it again." I was like, "Okay, great." We go off. We do it again. Second big, huge bump.
Wow.
Right. So really, wow, when they came back and said, "Okay, you were right. That was awesome. We want to go back to the original thing." I said, "Great, we're out. Good luck. No hard feelings. Here's all the files. Here's everything you need for a campaign that you've paid for that you're never going to use again. So if you want to go back to the plateau, you got to hire somebody else to do it." And they did.
Jeez.
And I get it. That just wasn't a good fit. They didn't have trust, even though we then had proof. We showed success twice. At sometimes it's just scary to change. It's just
Does your
scary to change.
Yeah, some people just don't like change. You talk
Sure.
about the disc, right?
Yes.
Uh, is do you ever set up a compensation structure where a portion of your compensation is, if it's successful from the client, you get rewarded as well?
Heck yeah. And the first time we ever did it, I was really nervous because we were a new business. I'd been reading about it. I felt like it was the right way to go, but I was really worried. So we put the plan together. I was negotiating with a team of gentlemen who were probably 3 decades my senior.
Mm.
I was quite certain I was being taken advantage of. I mean, I don't know, 29, 30, 31. I was young. And, but we put it together. And at the end of the year, they said, "We know that you were a little hesitant about this plan, and so we wanted to know if you wanted to go back to the original idea that you had around the retainer and everything." I said, "Oh heck no, we're getting
Ha!
paid 3 times more than if we had taken the original offer. So you didn't think this was going to work. I knew it was. It did. Pay the lady." And they
Good for
did, to
you.
their credit, and we continued to work with them for years, and it was awesome. We bounce back and forth. We're very flexible. It is almost always a better deal for the agency if we do hourly and we don't. It is almost always a better deal for the client if we share in the success and
Right.
they don't want to. So what we end up doing most of the time is a project plus retainer. So the razor branding is a 3-month project that we do to really make sure everything's going to be right from the beginning. And so that's got a project price, start, end, done. And then the monthly retainer is all the work we're doing to get their mess cleaned up and execute the plan. And so I know I'm leaving money on the table, not being hourly. And I know at the end of the year what our profit participation would have been had we taken that approach, but the client's usually very hesitant, and to their credit, they
Mm.
end up so the retainer model is a good middle ground.
Jackie, are there some branding disasters that cannot be turned around?
Oh, I'm the eternal optimist. I don't
Mm.
think that the glass is half full. I think the glass is completely full. Now,
Mm.
it's full of a little bit of water and a whole lot of air, but it's full. And
Mm.
so, I don't think there's anything that can't somehow be fixed. Now, how much time and money and faith is it going to take to fix it? There's always a way. I mean, you go back and look at some of the greatest branding disasters in the world. We know about them because either somebody gave up too soon or they didn't do the work necessary to turn it around. But turnaround's possible.
Mm. Coke Zero, what was it? Coke,
New Coke,
New Coke, that was it,
new
yeah.
Coke. But look at where Coke is now.
It's the biggest brand in the world.
Right.
No matter where you go in every part of the world, you Coca-Cola brand everybody
Correct.
knows.
You
Yeah,
look at Tylenol. Remember when they all those people got
that's
poisoned and
right.
died from
Yeah.
Tylenol? So it's about, any of those PR crisis communication disasters. And in the B2B space, there's always a fear of some sort of industrial accident, loss of life, impairment, um, some sort of toxic contamination. I mean, we deal with some challenges, right? And so we have to have a crisis communications plan in place, and when the steps are followed, we can work through anything. But it's about being honest. It's about addressing it directly. It's about sharing information about how we got here, what we're going to do next, and then going out and doing those things. Just takes time.
Mm. Jaci Russo, what motivates you?
The aforementioned 4 kids, they're very expensive. 3 of them are still in college. Luckily, they all got really big scholarships, but they insist on
Mm.
eating, which I just think is ridiculous.
Jeez, selfish.
Um, I love helping clients. I love watching them grow. I love watching the success. There are few things that get me higher than the emails that we get saying, this email campaign worked, or this trade show approach totally turned around. We've been to all these trade shows and we just stand there twiddling our thumbs, and, you put this plan together for us and you execute this plan. All of a sudden, there's a line 7 deep at our trade show booth, which is an email that we just got last week.
Mm.
For the first time, we don't just have an ROI on trade shows, they're profitable. I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, why do you go if they're not? I don't understand. So that I am energized by the journey. I love the growth. I love what we're building here. I love the team that I get to work with. We've worked very hard to recruit and retain top talent and put things in place, whether it's a completely flexible hybrid schedule that we've had since before COVID, 4-day work week that we're coming on the 1-year anniversary of. Um, I'm not going to call it profit participation, but everybody benefits as the company grows. And the team responds with really great work, and we get to work with really great clients. So, how can you not be happy and energetic about it all?
That's wonderful. You mentioned a Quentin Tarantino story earlier.
So my first job out of college, so I went to the University of Louisiana, go Cajuns,
Mm.
and after my time there, moved to Los Angeles. So it was my first. I bartended and worked my way through college, but my first real professional job. I was able to get a job at a company called Creative Artists Agency, which is the world's largest talent agency, A-list actors, actresses, musicians, athletes, writers, producers, directors, everything. And I was very green, very new, very young, very not good at my job in the beginning. And I basically helped with a lot of the smaller, lesser known clients, maybe clients who'd had a big heyday, but were kind of, on the back end of their careers. A number of them were family members of big clients.
Mm.
So, Tom Cruise's wife or
Mm.
Blythe Danner's daughter, that kind of
Mm.
thing.
Mhm.
And one of the clients that I had the privilege of working with that I really liked a lot was Eric Stoltz, who had had a
Yeah,
huge
sure,
career
sure.
and then had really kind of been quiet for a
Yep,
few
yep,
years now.
yep.
One of my jobs at the agency that allowed me to make a little bit of extra money on the side was covering scripts. So to cover a script, you'd grab stacks of scripts and read them, and then create a 1-page overview. And so it's a little synopsis of what the script is about, a little bit about which of our clients at the agency would be best suited for which roles in it, and kind of a recommend, do not recommend sort of thing. We got paid a little bit extra for it, so I would spend my Saturdays and Sundays doing that
Hmm.
because we were not well compensated in the early days. It was
Mm.
barely minimum wage, and I was working a lot. So, one of the scripts that I covered was by Quentin Tarantino, which was his sophomore effort. And I had seen his first movie, Reservoir Dogs,
Yeah.
thought it was great. And I'm reading this script and thought, this just isn't as good as that. I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't think it's very good. I am not in favor of it. And you got to kind of put yourself out there when you're covering these scripts. So I get a call from Eric Stoltz, and he says, "Hey, I heard there's a new Tarantino movie floating around. I'm kind of thinking about it." And I was like, "Oh, dude, don't do it. I just covered it. It's not good. I really, I don't think it's like, it's not the path for your career. Really, I just don't think it's good." And he goes, all right. So a couple months later, he comes back. He goes, "Listen, I really feel compelled to do it." And I was like, I mean, it's your career. And obviously, Pulp Fiction ended up being one of the biggest movies of his career.
You didn't
And
like Pulp Fiction, Jaci.
I did not like the script. I loved the
Right.
movie, but I
Right.
didn't see it on the page. And look, I can admit when
Ah,
I'm wrong.
yeah.
I didn't see it. When I saw it on screen and compared it to what I had read, it went through quite a metamorphosis.
I
The
see.
words on the page were not nearly as detailed and
Ah.
descriptive. I had read an early draft, whatever. I was wrong. I was just flat out wrong. So, you know, I was right about Courtney Cox and Friends, so I get some credit for some things. But yeah, I was wrong about that one.
Yeah, Eric Stoltz was in Pulp Fiction. That's
Yeah,
right.
he was
Yeah.
great in it too, and it
Yeah,
was a
he was
great
great.
movie. It's one of my
Yeah,
favorites. But
absolutely.
yeah, I did not get it in the script at all, which is probably why I'm not still a talent agent. It's probably why I moved into marketing. I'm much better at this.
It's interesting the branding of Quentin Tarantino. He has a certain type, and now is that it has to it's self-created by the pictures, by the movies, but he also probably has talent pushing it as well, right?
Yeah.
How does that
Well,
work?
it's all the things. So think about it. If you're going to see a Tarantino movie, you know what you're getting, right? You
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
it's going to be violent. It's going to have a ton of curse words. It's
Yes.
going to be incredibly well written. There's going to be some long soliloquies.
Right.
There's going to be a couple of twists and turns in the plot.
Mm, mm.
You know the pace. I mean, you just know. You know everything about it because it's a Tarantino. If you're going to go see
Excuse me.
P.T. Anderson, if you're going to read a John Grisham, and that's because those people found a lane and made it their own. That is branding in a nutshell. You have to be able to say, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, this is who I am right for, and this is who is right for me. And if you don't know that, you're going to be too wide and you're going to be in the middle of the herd, safe and quiet. Well, not safe from bankruptcy, but safe from being seen, safe
Mm,
from being targeted, safe from being found out. Taylor Swift's dropping a new album. You already know what that's going to look like and sound like
mm,
and be like.
mm.
And, we know because there's a brand around it. Now, I give her credit. She started in country and she was able to evolve to pop,
Hmm.
right? And so I'm not saying you get stuck there. I'm saying you have to be there and you can evolve and grow over time. But you've got to do it for the right reasons, not because you're bored or because you want to do more things. You've got to stay within your ecosystem.
Mm.
If Coca-Cola started selling soap, I would think that's weird.
Right.
If Procter and Gamble sold soda and soap, that wouldn't bother me a bit.
Mm.
So are you a house of brands or a branded house?
Hmm. We talked just briefly before we started recording. I mentioned Quentin Tarantino. When he makes his movies, he makes them for himself, and others can come and watch. That's kind of how I view, these conversations. I don't really think about what other people would ask. I just ask what I want to ask. You did mention in one of your Instagram posts you mentioned Taylor Swift, that your experiences with her were life-changing.
Life-changing. Life-changing. I was never a fan. I was aware of her music, but, I think she's fine.
Yeah.
And our youngest asked for Taylor Swift tickets last December. I completely underestimated the Ticketmaster fiasco until I was in it. And I spent, I don't know, 9, 11 hours in Ticketmaster purgatory, no
Wow.
tickets. Basically gave her a blank piece of paper for Christmas that said, there'll be tickets somehow, some way, somewhere. I'm working on it. And she trusted me, luckily. And I was able to find some. They were not cheap, but I bought them. Then our son, who was playing college baseball, had his senior night the same weekend. So I was like, you can take a friend. I really want you to go with you. I want you to go with me. I was like, okay, I love that you love me. Not sure how I'm going to be in Texas and Mississippi at the same time. So I was able to find tickets for a different weekend in Atlanta, which again, you know how hard these things are to get. The fact
Mm,
that I'm now getting my second set,
mm,
sold the first set at quite a profit. So
nice.
now we've got the tickets for Atlanta. When all of a sudden they pops up, and I've got another set available for Houston. I was like, sweet, perfect weekend, perfect night, perfect everything, great seats, great view, VIP, whatever. Sell the ones at Atlanta at a profit. So now we're going third set, and it's basically free at this point. I'm excited about that. And
Mm,
so I started listening to the music because I don't want to go to a concert and not know the songs.
sure.
I don't like them. There's one album that she had put out in COVID that I really resonated with me. It's called Folklore. It's a little slower, a little more singer songwritery. Kind of reminds me of the stuff I listened to in high school and college, like the Indigo Girls and stuff like that. And I was like, okay,
Mm,
I dig it. So I'm listening to the set list. I like it. We get there. The concert is a religious experience. It is part Barnum and Bailey's extravaganza circus,
mm.
part Broadway show, part movie, part 70,000 person sing along,
Yeah. Yeah.
spiritual
Hmm.
awakening. I don't know how to describe it other than that. It was incredible. I respect her as a business person.
Yeah.
I respect her as an entertainer. The amount of stuff she has been through with the
Mm.
media and the people and the backstabbing and
Lawsuits. Yeah.
the lawsuits. Oh my gosh, the
Mm,
lawsuits. And so and she's managed to stay authentic and real and humble. And I
mm,
don't think it's an
mm,
act. I think it's legit.
mm.
And I'm all in. I'm all in.
Well, the biggest entertainer of in the world right now. I mean, the first
Yes,
billion-dollar tour was last year. I mean, you have to respect that.
absolutely. And the fact that people don't give her enough credit. She's
Mm,
not just standing up there singing. She's a business person.
right.
And she treats her music like a business.
Yeah.
She's dedicated to her writing, and you know what? She knows who she's writing for.
Mm,
She's writing for herself and everyone that has had a similar experience,
mm,
like Tarantino writes for himself.
mm.
I don't think anyone's had those experiences that Tarantino writes about. I would
Still.
hope that's a life I'm not interested in living. But so I think about the women artists that I grew up listening to. The Indigo Girls, Joan Jett and the Blackhawks, Madonna, Blackhearts, Heart. All these female performers who sang great, performed great, maybe did some writing, but not like the way she does it.
Right.
And so, huge fan, huge fan. I'm sure
E
she listens to your podcast, so hopefully
I'm
she'll hear
sure.
this.
Hi, Taylor.
And so, if
Uh,
she wants to come on my podcast, I'd be glad to interview her.
and just the way she dealt with the record companies, they tried to muscle over her, and she re-recorded her music, and it's just it really is uh, it's a marvel, and she's created a template, and
Correct.
yeah,
Correct.
uh,
No, I am thrilled that I am raising 3 daughters in a time when I'm basically co-parenting with Taylor Swift,
mm,
because
hmm,
my daughters are growing up with a self-assuredness
mm,
and confidence and view of the world that I think matters.
mm.
And I'm happy for it.
Jackie, how do you measure success?
I think that if we're talking about business, it is bottom line is the number one way to measure it. But I think you can't only look at that because it's not going to tell you a story.
Mm,
So I think you have to look at a lot of little steps to get to that answer. So I look at with our clients each individual thing we do, are we gaining ground? So are we gaining subscribers, or is our open rate getting better? Is the click through rate getting better? Are we growing engagement? Are we giving them more confidence in their marketing materials and ability? Are they using it better? Is that trade show more successful than the last one? I mean, everything's a benchmark. And so, in life, I think it's about my role as a wife and a mother and a leader of this company, and the way that I support my team, both professionally and personally. And for me, I'm a pretty happy person.
Mm,
I get to read a lot, which I love. I get to spend time with the people that I like, which I love. I watch an embarrassingly large amount of TV. I mean, I try to catch almost every movie and series out there if it's possible, and I get to travel a lot, which I love.
mm,
I've been married to the same guy for 25 years and
mm.
3 months now, which I mostly like. So it's all good.
Yeah, you strike me as happy and polished and know what you know and are willing to tell others, which is remarkable.
I think it's necessary. I worked really hard to get here, and if I can help somebody else get here faster,
Mm,
smarter, better, well, why wouldn't I?
right.
I don't think there's competition. I think there's collaboration. I think that, so Brand Stay You, for example, I'm 3 years into that and I'm loving it and it's great. And I identified four other people who I think are equally, if not more smart than I am in their areas of expertise. And so I'm like, hey, join me in this thing. Let's do this together. And so now we've got personal development, professional development, leadership training, sales training, HR recruitment, team communication, all these other offerings. I didn't see those people as competitors. I
Hmm,
found a way for each of us to have our own lane, and now we provide a full service to a company. Who doesn't win with that? And
hmm.
Louisiana, I love that I get to say Louisiana is awesome, more awesome than every other state in the union in this regard. Our economic development at the state level has this program, SBET and IWTP, which basically means SBET is Small Business Employee Training. They will allocate and reimburse up to 100%, up to $3,000 per employee per year for ongoing training.
Wow.
I mean, that's awesome to me. Awesome. I would so much rather bring in those kinds of resources and train up my team. So we do professional development sessions every month here, so that we can all get better at what we do. Do I think they're going to work here forever? No. Do I think
Mm.
they're going to take that training and go somewhere else with it? Yes. And I am so happy for all of us because everybody gets better from it. Now, we've got people who've been here for, 7, 9, 12 years, which is great, but nobody's chained to their desk. So I don't want to not up train them so they stay. I want to up train them so they stay. I want to make
Mm.
sure they're smarter than everybody else and that they want to stay because of that. To me, that's important.
So, Jackie, when I started my tech business in the '90s, I was working way too much. I'm sure you're very familiar with this. 14, 16-hour days. You let a lot of things slide, like my personal health. I was eating pizza and soda and drink
Preach.
soda. Yeah, it was just you just put I stopped playing tennis and soccer, and I found myself up to 340 pounds, and
Ooh.
the doctor said to me, if you don't lose the weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. I have two daughters. And, this hit me as hard as possible on the drive home. I talked to myself. And so within the next 7 months, I dropped about 130 pounds and
Wow.
I kept the weight off. When people are losing weight, they look at it as a finishing line, right? And 90% gain it back. So, you have to make a full change. So when I tell people the story, I can just see it in their eyes. What's the secret? Tell me. So, like there's some secret. And the answer, of course, Jackie, is discipline, right? That's it. There's no, I had to get focused. I had to, restraint, mastery, control, routine. And I got all these things together and I lost it. So I wonder how discipline plays a role in your life, Jackie Russo.
Oh, I think it plays a huge role. I gave up drinking on my 40th birthday.
Mm,
So haven't had alcohol in 13 years. Gave up soda on my 45th birthday.
mm,
and I am 1 year and 3 months, so 15 months into, sugar, gave up sugar. So,
Wow.
in addition to being just a delight at parties, um, it takes a lot of discipline, and of all those things, sugar is the hardest.
It
Joey,
is.
every day, the
It is. It
sugar,
is.
the
It's in everything.
cravings, it's so
Yes.
hard. I have such a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
So no, I think it is absolutely discipline. I believe that I am really smart. I believe that I am very strong-willed. I believe that I am going to make the right choices for the right reason. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time. But I think that propels my discipline. That pushes me to be
Hmm.
better. And my kids, nobody seems to be ready to get married. I mean, I got the one engaged, but nobody's having kids yet. So
Mm.
I got a ways to go for grandkids, so I gotta stick around for a while.
And that's a motivation.
It's a motivation. I wanna enjoy my later years. I see people who, retire and just immediately plummet. I don't wanna do that. I wanna be healthy and fit and
Mm,
active and
mm,
interested, and so I take that same discipline to my office.
mm.
I try to make sure that I get up, before my alarm every day, and I have some quiet time in the morning, to really catch my thoughts and think about the day ahead and, just reflect. So I was never a morning person until I got pregnant, and then, nature took over. And
Yes.
now I'm leaning into it. I find some time to get in a little bit of exercise. I'm try to be the first one in the office, and I, like you, took on a lot of different tasks and work a lot of hours. In the early years, we still made sure we were home for 5 for dinner every day, but then,
Mm,
back to work from our houses.
mm.
So I'd put the kids to bed and then do another couple hours.
Yep.
But now I've been able to find a balance. That work-life balance is really important to me. I wanna enjoy the work I'm doing. I wanna enjoy the money that I'm making. I wanna enjoy the experiences that I'm having. So, to me, it's about balance.
Hmm. And I also see a lot of routine in you. You don't drink coffee like myself as well. You drink
No
water.
coffee,
Yeah, I saw that.
just
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, me too. But a lot of routine. Do you journal, meditate? Do you do like a routine in the morning?
I think meditate would be a good word for it. I've never thought of that as a descriptor, but that's probably be accurate. I definitely am having conversations with myself,
Mm,
quietly in my head. I pray. I definitely believe, that faith is really important. There's
mm.
some challenging times behind us. The agency was 6 months old when 9/11 happened, and so
Oh.
I quit first and started the company, and then we were 4 or 5 months in when Michael quit his job and joined me, and so it felt like the 2 of us were unemployed, and, we had clients, but 9/11 put a couple of them out of business,
Yeah.
and, so all of a sudden, I was like, "What have we done? What is happening right now?" And then we were pregnant with number 3. We just had number 2. So, that's a lot. So
Mm,
yeah, I think I'm very, routine oriented. Although I'm flexible, I appreciate change. I love change. It's funny.
mm,
Michael has no routine at all and hates change. I am very routine and love change. I don't
mm,
know. I don't know. I don't know how it is. But I think that good things happen when you do the right things the right way. And so
mm.
that's what I stick to.
I hear that. I'm in technology as I mentioned, and technology is great, changes every day. Technology is terrible. It changes every day. So it's the I
Absolutely.
you know Jackie, I was so excited when we set this up. It's really great to hear the passion, that you have, and
Thank you.
when I get to talk to you like to great professionals like yourself that not only do what they do, but they're willing to come and talk about it to help others. And anybody listening, how can we get in touch with you?
Oh, well, luckily my name is spelled weird, so it's easy to find. Jaci,
Yes.
Jaci Russo. And so I have my username on every platform because there are no other Jackie Russos. There is a Mexican singer, but apparently they are not active in the internet because I have
Hmm.
my name every time a new thing opens. I just go register for Jackie Russo and I get to own it, and it's great. You go to brandrusso.com and you can go to brandstateu, like university.com. And I try to be everywhere.
Like you said, Jaci Russo with two S's, Russo. That's Italian for red.
Correct.
And I really appreciate your time. I hope next time I'm in Lafayette, perhaps you, your husband, and
Please.
I, we can have a cup of tea. I don't really drink coffee. I don't
Well,
know.
we have a coffee bar here. There's 2 pots going at all times.
I say,
But we've got The, nugget ice maker
Ah,
and a water chiller filler, because if
nice.
you drink water all the time, you have a really
Me
nice
too.
water setup, so
Right,
our
nice.
kitchen is wired for water drinkers, Joey. I got you hooked up.
Jackie, thank you so much. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your time, and you be well.
My pleasure, you too.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Disciple Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. There's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Disciple Conversations.